Uh, First, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to tell you a bit about what we're doing at Multi Technologies and basically how we're using deep learning assisted high contact screening in combination with engineered heart tissues with the goal basically to develop or identify new therapeutics for treating dilated cardiomyopathy or other heart diseases. In case you don't know, Multi Technology is a spin-off based out in Strasbourg, France. And what is DCM? DCM, or dilated cardiomyopathy. So DCM is a condition characterized by the enlargement or dilation of and weakening of the left ventricular of the heart, but also sometimes both ventriculars are dilated. The heart muscle becomes stretched and thin, leading to a decrease in the heart's ability to basically pump blood efficiently to the body. And then this basically leads to symptoms of the heart failure, which there's no really full treatment of this condition, and then only treatment is heart transplant. Looking a bit more into the sarcomere, which is basically, it's the building block, it's the functional unit of cardiomyocyte where it's all the contraction happens. We have the thick myosin filament here. And in parallel, we also have the thin actin or tropomyosin or troponin filament, where basically when there is a contraction, these two filaments, they slide next to each other and accommodate the contraction. But in addition to these two main key players, there is also another one, which is called titin, and you see it over here. So titin is very important and provides elasticity and stability to this contraction. And titin is very well studied to be the main cause for DCM. And especially the truncated version of the titin. Now, depending on the cohort you're looking at, there is between 15 and 30% of the patients suffering from DCM. It's because of the titin, or we also call it TTNTV. So it's because of the TTNTV. And of course, we have here other key players that they link to DCM. But the TTNTV variants, basically they are heterozygous. So you have one allele that is working in a way okay. Now there are also theories that also the healthy allele becomes also reduced, but also you have the other allele which is basically truncated. And basically TTNTV is not only a risk factor for DCM, but also there are other heart conditions, other cardiomyopathies that is because of TTNTV. And we have also the peripartum cardiomyopathies. We have the left ventricular non-compaction and repairment cardiomyopathies. We have alcohol abuse cardiomyopathies, cancer therapy-induced cardiomyopathies. We have a number of skeletal myopathies, which also give rise to cardiac defects. And very interestingly, we also have a chronic cardiac arrhythmias, where basically are the risk factor because of the TTNTV. So this is very interesting because titin is a sarcomere protein and is not an ion channel or so, but this is work in progress. So what are we doing at Multi Technologies? So this is our pipeline. We have 4 stages. These are very, very brief. The first 2 ones, they are very focused on the TTNTV, where basically we start with the model development. So I will show you some data here, where basically we have different IPS lines. We make them cardiomyocytes or other cell types of the heart. And basically we characterize the phenotype. Yeah? I will show you some data here, mainly functional readouts. But basically we have sarcomere analysis, morphological profiling, electrophysiology, transcriptomics, and so on. The second stage, which actually is very interesting, and it's most of the talk today, is the high contact screen, where basically we have a fully automated room We have our own in-house softwares to do the analysis, which are basically based on AI in order to give a multi-parameter phenotypic fingerprints of our compounds, all the libraries that we're doing. And the next step after that, as soon as we have identified hits or so, it's of course the drug and target validation, where mainly, this depends how it goes. We're currently in this position here between 2 and 3, where mainly, we're going to be looking at mainly in vitro models, but depending on the hits or the preclinical candidates, we will see how we develop in this direction, where we're using in vivo for PK, we will see. But this is a very simplified version because in this step here you have from hit identification to hit to lead, lead to candidate, lead to target, which actually you have here steps like in vitro pharmacology, you have a target deconvolution, you have in vivo PK. So hopefully after this stage, we're going to have a preclinical candidate, and we're going to move to the clinic with our collaborators in Germany. Before I go into detail, just wanted to emphasize here that we're able to use, our models are freedom to operate, so they have FTO. We're using patient lines. We can also use patient lines, but we can also use, we can also genetically modify IPS lines with a mutation of interest. Then we have large-scale generation of cardiomyocytes using bioreactors and, of course, pyroblast. And basically, we also freeze them down, which basically really allow us to perform or to set up really high throughput assays. And here, basically, we're using 34-well plates, and our normal procedure is up to 33 plates per time. But also, very importantly, we also using engineered head tissues or engineered head muscles, cardiac organoids, many different names, which is basically pioneered from the lab of co-founder, which is basically Professor Zimmerman in Göttingen. Now, we heard this morning a talk from a keynote speaker about the quality, how important it is. This is what we also believe. And basically, what we're doing here for every batch that we generate of cardiomyocytes, we have a number of assays that we do every time after we thaw, basically we thaw the vial. Of course, we're looking at the morphology, the pledability after thawing, and basically most of the times we have around 95% viability after the thawing, which is very beneficial. We're looking at different markers. We have different gene expression profiles. And very importantly, we're also looking at the functional. And we're doing calcium, MEA, patch clamp, but also we're looking at conductivity when using the EHMs. This is our standard procedure before we go down to screening, before we go down to validation of the compounds that I'm going to show you in a minute. Now, going to the first phase, the model development, the TTNTV. So basically, we're generating here isogenic pairs. We're interested in a mutation. Here, we introduce two base pairs in the exon 326, which leads to a frame shift and premature stop codon at the A band of the titin. This mutation has been already, identified back in 2002. Characterized in IPS in 2015 from Moretti lab in Germany, and also very recently from Wolfgang Linke and Wolfram Zimmermann lab for the characterization. So we're making here multiple heterozygous clones, the wild type, of course, and also we'll have the homozygous. Yeah. I'm just going to show you a few data just for the functional readouts. So we're using here a non-invasive method, and we plate our cardiomyocytes between 40 and 60 days of the differentiation on MEA system, where basically allow us to evaluate electrophysiology, contractility, conduction velocities, impedance, and so on, where we couldn't see any big phenotype when we look at the electrophysiology, but when we look at the conductility, we could see a very clear phenotype in the bit amplitude. So we have a reduction here with the mutant, or the TTNTV line compared to the wild type. We have a prolongation of the excitation contraction delay, which is very good, and also we have a bit irregularity. So these are our main phenotypes when we're looking at the 2D. Moving a step further, we're doing the same thing now in the EHMs. We're looking at the force of contraction and when we have different concentrations for calcium. In black is the wild type, and the other ones here, the heterozygous. For homozygous, of course, it didn't contract at all, but we did the experiment. We can clearly see here a force of contraction phenotype where we have a reduction here where we're looking at the TTNTV versus the wild type. And we also have a reduction in the contraction time, but not in the relaxation. So now we have a good model. We have good cells. We know that our model has a clear phenotype. And then we wanted to set up an assay, as we call the primary assay, to do the screen. Before I go into the details, I just want to give you a very simple example of how we're using AI. And basically, of course, you have an algorithm that you have to train the algorithm, yeah, okay? So here we call this a training set. We're using, for example, a CNN network. This is a type of deep learning. And our question here is I want this algorithm to be able to identify male versus female. Okay, so our inputs, our training set, what we feed the algorithm is different pictures of male and female, which goes through different hidden layers. As you see here, these nodes are the layers, which every layer basically is at a different degree of level of features. And the low level, for example, could be just black and white lines, and then going through a middle level where basically the algorithm starts making different parts of your face, and then moving to the last layer where we have different faces. Yeah? And then at the end you have a model which can predict, able to predict basically images, male versus male. There's the training set. Let's validate it. So, so if you put a random picture in there and basically it goes to the same procedure, at the end the algorithm will tell you, you know, that, for example, here we have 99.5 male, 0.5 female. Don't ask me why. Sorry. I don't know. Great. So this is exactly the simple, you know, example. And now in our case here, what we have is basically we started with the training set. Where we're using cardomyocytes derived from random control lines, but also from the patient. Yeah, patient line, so which we're not using for the screen. So we are staining the cells with actinine and troponin. We feed the algorithm with these stainings, and we let basically the algorithm, we train the algorithm, and also what you can do here is you can use a certain part of the database, like 80% or 20%, to train, and the rest to test. So this is what we've done here, and basically we can see very nice prediction model here, predictions. And the next what we've done is basically we used the isogenic pair, I showed you earlier, and we got a very nice separation, very nice prediction. Now, it's very important to emphasize here that to do that, we have developed an open source software, which we call PhenoLink, you can find online, which basically you can use any type of plugin that we are generating to do any type of cardiac or neuronal characterization or quantification. So for this purpose here, we have developed a plugin which we call it AIFT, AI feature. And basically we're using the PhenoLink and this plugin to do all this analysis. Now, my data scientists, you know, they're into algorithms, and I told him very nicely, you know, biologists, they don't really understand many of the maths. They only care about p-values. And basically, you know, first he made a very nice graph here where we have the wild type and the patient line and the isogenic mutant. And basically here you can see the algorithm that very nicely separates the wild type and groups together the mutant, or the two different mutants, okay? And this is where he came up with this nice video. Basically he said, okay, I'm gonna make an artificial cardomyocyte. I'm gonna fuse this one with another CNN model and basically generate artificial cardomyocytes. So these are basically the faces that you saw in the previous slide. Now they are cardomyocytes. So we can do that basically from different genotypes, okay? Now, we have a model, but now we're going to the screen. We have spent a lot of time here to optimize that, but basically we're using a fully automated workflow. So we have a room, sterile, everything there with incubator, with a compound dispenser, liquid handler, and so on, which also coupled together with a Yokogawa cofacal. Okay, so basically we have a protocol here, which is 10 days, and at 4 days, basically we have a library that we treat 45,000 compounds. 7,000 of them are basically bioactive, the rest are diverse. We have a small recovery, and basically we feed it to our software. We generate the different features, which are 1,218. We're doing through optimization, where we're taking the robust primes for every plate. We get very good numbers, and also we are taking the reproducibility when we're basically looking at the different pilot studies that we're doing. We have very good reproducibility when we're looking here at the Pearson correlation. And then at the end we have a model where we can predict the wild type, the TT and TV, which are treated, and the ones, the TT and TV, with different degrees of toxicity. And now if we open this confusion matrix into 2D scatter plot, we can really distinguish the toxic or the toxicity in these cells, the TT and TV cells that are treated with different compounds, and here we have the wild type cells. Now in orange we have the TT and TV cells that are treated with the compounds, and we see here that they're starting from here, and some of them they're migrating towards the wild type, which basically suggests that there is a rescue phenotype. This is how it looks like. This is a TT and TV treated with a compound. This is our wild type here, very similar, and this is a TT and TV DMSO. So we start from here and we go from here to here. We have different ways of quantifying this. We're looking at the viability. We're looking at how many cells in each well they're predicted to be wild type. We're doing DRCs to do that. We're also using a measure which is called Mahalanobis distance measure to really quantify this transition. We have identified 55 hits in this process, and basically after that we're doing a DRC, so we're looking at different concentrations, and at the end we have, at least for these 7,000 compounds that we have tested here, we have identified 20 hits. These 20 hits, we have very good pathways. We have identified pathways that they are known to play a key role in the DCM rescue, like epigenetics and hormonal pathways. And then our last part is basically, goes now to the validation, where we're checking, these 20 compounds at different concentrations. So we have here 2 different concentrations. And we're looking basically electrophysiology, conductivity, coverage, and so on. This is for 7 days. This is just a graph for 3 days. We're looking at the coverage. We see after 3 days, all the compounds, all the cells are still there after 3 days of treatment. And when we're looking at the MEA, so looking at here the bit period, where basically tells you how long it takes for the 1 bit to occur. So basically we're looking if this increases, it means that the cells slow down. And at the same time, we're looking at the phenotyping duration. This is another metric which suggests that there are arrhythmias in there. And basically from these readers, we can identify compounds in order to exclude them from our list, because they are high, the safety is basically, they're more prone to give arrhythmias into our cells. I'm not going to go into details, but we're looking also basically the sarcomere. We quantify the sarcomere counts, the length, and so on different compounds. And our last experiment, or at least this is what we want to go, is all our hits to be tested on EHMs. And basically we have this in a very medium throughput. I'm going to skip the conclusion because I'm over time. And I want to stay here that we just got a big grant, which basically we're going to do similar work in a 3-year program, but now we're studying ACM, so this is arrhythmogenic cardiomyopathy. We have 2 postdoc positions available and 2 master internships. If you're interested in moving to Strasbourg, send me an email. And basically this is the team, and I would like to thank you for your attention, and if I have time, I will not take questions.
Thank you for that. Very interesting, a lot of material. I think we have time for one question, if anyone has something they're curious about.
Very impressive work. Did you have modify this GAN algorithm, or you just use it and combine use it into with your data?
Which one? The GNA?
GAN algorithms, or do you program your all algorithms or use these common algorithms without modification?
Amplification, what do you mean with amplification? Because there are different ways to amplifying the data, but basically we're going through an amplification stage, yes. Yeah, this is normal in this.
Because it's very widely used algorithm for the AI, right?
I think I don't follow.
It's a very widely used algorithms. Or
why we're using the algorithms, the AI versus another way?
Yeah, the GAN algorithms.
I think maybe we can discuss later. I think.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Just so we have more time.
Thank our speaker one more time.